Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow-Driven CEO podcast. I have the wonderful, beautiful Canada. I do have a soft spot for Canada since being there many, many moons ago, like 5 years ago. But I have Bekki Cait from Toronto. Welcome to the show, Becky.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. You're so profesh. You've got it all going on, like the branding in the background, the beautiful, just the kind of colors. It's
Uh,
all happening. So it's such a great, yeah, it's got it all going on. So
I appreciate that. The big question though, is she wearing hard pants? Is she wearing sweatpants? As
good.
long as we appear all together on the
Yeah,
screen.
on top, it doesn't really matter what's going on. Yeah, no, that's such a COVID thing, right? Though it's a good call out though, because it's quite often the same with
Go back.
me. Yeah, what you see here is not what's going on behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
That's right. Ribs and up.
Yeah, totally, totally. Anyway, I've been looking forward to talking to you actually. So you're the founder of CATO, and I'm actually want to ask you. I'm pretty sure I understand where the brand name has come from, surname, but I could be wrong. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're the founder of CATO, which is an employee experience consultancy, and it's whereby you help organizations design the end-to-end experience of working together. And that's people that are already employed. So from role design to, feedback systems, recognition, repairing conflict, you specifically want the retail side of things now. You mentioned, and I'll let you explain that. But your work blends service design, organizational psychology, and day-to-day ops, which I think is so important, the two that come together, right? It's like, how do you interconnect both? So teams feel clear, respected, and capable. And your typical engagements include EX audits, leadership workshops, manager playbooks, cross-functional rituals that do improve that retention. I love to talk about retention, actually, internal NPS and customer outcomes. You also have your own podcast, which is
Okay.
which is called Dear Corporate Love Stores. Tell us a bit about your story. Like, how long have you had your company? What got you into this area? And then more specifically, retail. I think not recent, but yeah, you said you've been more focused in retail.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And interrupt me at any time if you want to dig into a detail. So I actually started in branding and design. That was my skill kind of coming up. And I was in-house for an educational company for over 12 years. Um, Over that time, it was a really cool company when I first joined. It was relatively small. Everyone was really gritty, leaned in, working together, really close knit. Over those 12 years, though, whatever magic that we had when it was small slowly turned into something really ugly, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It turned into what I would call a typical toxic work environment. And it's hard when you go from someone who's so just really leaned in. It's like a slow boiling frog thing. Like it happened kind of slowly over time, and then all of a sudden, I realized like my stomach drops every time my work phone rings. My heart races
Uh,
every time I get an email from my boss. I was miserable, and it wasn't just at work. I was miserable at home, right? Like you take that home as someone who's
yeah.
really career focused and oriented. It was really tough. It really just changed me as a human. And so it wasn't until that kind of dawned on me, and I was lucky enough to, have some contacts in other agencies and things like that. And I was like, you know what? I just need to leave now. I don't have anything else lined up. I don't
Wow.
really, yeah, I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna lean on my like some overflow work, some free like branding and design work until I figure it out. And that's what I did. And in that process, when I asked myself, well, what do I want to do if my skill is branding and design? And now I have this new passion of healthy workplaces and I
Yeah.
just understand the difference that like a meaningful,
It makes.
healthy workplace can make in someone's life. It's like, maybe I can marry those two things. And that led me to employer branding. So employer branding is such an interesting topic. I still think it is incredibly important, but over the time, I realized a couple things. One, nobody really agrees on what it is, right? The scope
Never.
of employer. And I started to realize that very few companies are coming to you for employer branding help because things are going really well. Like usually it's because they're having some kind of retention or attraction issue. Um, but what they had in their minds of what employer branding was, which to them was, design, career site, slogans, colors, it wasn't it wasn't gonna do the work they wanted it to, right? Like a beautiful career site, a beautiful EVP, employer value
I was about
proposition,
to
and a
say, let
DAG.
me like just that shiny EVP. I've got so many questions
Yes.
around that. It's like, oh, we need an EVP. I'm like, look, can we just look into
Yeah.
what's going on underneath at the moment, please?
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's when I was like, okay, I kind of just kept pulling the thread. It was like, we have this now. We have at least this North Star. We know we have this aspirational goal of how you want to be perceived. Now what needs to happen,
Mm,
right? Like, how are you going to walk this walk?
yeah.
Because yeah, eventually that's what's going to get to the results they eventually want.
And so how did you become part of that? Because it sounds like, and it's really interesting you're bringing this up because it's almost like this surface level, it's all shiny and great. And, we've got all this going on, like the smoke and mirrors sort of thing. And then really it's quite disconnected. And so you're
Hmm.
essentially, and I love this because you're not looking at it from just a brand design perspective. You're looking at it from how do you interconnect it all from, from where to go, from start to finish. So to ensure that it is all interconnected because quite
Exactly.
often it's the employer that's setting the scene of what they want, but it's like understanding that what the employee is looking for as well to bring the two together. Is that kind of what you, because you were an employee, right? So you were like, this is toxic. You couldn't
Yeah.
really make probably the changes you want to make in the business, so you had no other choice but to leave.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's not sustainable either, right? Like there's so many people that, so how do you, yeah. So was that part of you thinking, all right, there's more to this and how do you put it together end to end?
Yeah, and I certainly didn't I wasn't all knowing at the start, right? Like I thought employer
Yeah.
branding was the thing
Yeah.
until I did an employer branding project and clients were very happy with it, excited to have this beautiful packaged thing and these articulate on point messages and things like that. But, eventually the next employee engagement survey comes around and if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so I was lucky enough to be called back by these clients to be like, "Hey, we really love this. How do we activate it?" And that was usually the question. And to be honest, I didn't know at first. And so this is where I think my background in creative work helps, is because you get to know the problem really well, and you get to know who you're solving the problem for really
Yeah.
well. And so that was my go-to. It was like, okay, if this is for, let's say, frontline employees in the retail industry, which it was at the time, I need to talk to them. I need to know them. I need to understand, it's been 15, 20 years since I've worked in retail. I think a lot's changed since then.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so I spent hours and hours just talking to store managers, store employees, just listening to what they had to say about their day-to-day experience and just paying attention right through the lens of what I knew my clients wanted them to feel and think,
Yeah.
and then getting a really good idea of why that wasn't happening. And man, across categories of retail, across countries, so many just the same themes kept popping up.
What are the themes like? What are the themes, Becky, like in terms of, and are you still seeing them now? Like, I love that you stepped into the unknown of just almost, yeah, it was, you didn't know what this path was that you were going on, but you were like, I'm just going to explore, I'm going to be curious, open-minded, and step into it. And I love that. It takes a lot of courage to do that, by the way. And then, you're hearing all these themes. Did any relate to you from your own experience as an employee? Question that question. And then the second is what sort of themes came up and are they still coming up now? What are you seeing as the big themes from a disconnect perspective?
Yeah, so they're for sure still coming up. To be honest, I think they've been the same for decades.
Oh my gosh.
Some of them will be really familiar across many industries, especially if you have frontline or especially deskless employees,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So communication, any kind of internal comms, reaching employees who aren't sitting in front of a computer has been a decade, if not centuries old challenge, for anyone in internal communications or HR, for sure. The idea of recognition, so feeling valued, feeling appreciated. And then the biggest one is the disconnect between what the company is saying and what I'm experiencing
Yeah.
in the day to day.
Why is that? Because I did an internal engagement piece last year, and
Mm.
not yeah, it was pretty deep because it was started with we just need to get the employees engaged again, and I'm like, okay. So
Yeah,
I go in and I'm like, sure, like yeah, no worries, and then I realize, oh, there's a big disconnect here. And what I
yeah,
realized was it was strategy. The business strategy wasn't connecting to the employees, but there was also then just no one was speaking to anyone. No one was feeling heard.
yeah,
It was, yeah, there was just so many, like I was unpicking all these disconnections and going, right, well, this is how you need to put it all back together. It's not as simple as just getting up and creating an internal engagement strategy where it's just like, okay, we're doing
yeah,
this now because I interviewed a lot of people within the team or the business, and the
hmm,
same sort of things were popping up, like just we're not
yeah,
listening to this this issue working like hybrid working, etc., etc. Like there were so many different things.
yeah. I think part of it is the things that require a company to scale are the things that inherently break down like clarity of communication. So the bigger you get, the more like specialized roles you have to get, the more departments you have,
Mm,
the more siloed
mm,
you get. And I think when that happens, it's just y- that combined with I think a lot of companies just trying to do too much, right? If you're talking about corporate strategies or even people strategies, sometimes they're like 40-page documents
yeah, I know.
or like wildly busy this 10 pillar plan, and you just can't do all of that. You can't be
Mm,
great at everything. So I think it's a combination of a lack of focus, a lack of willingness to say no, that's not a priority right now. And then in some ways, kind of a logistical struggle to communicate to each other, like
yeah,
quite physically, because you've gotten so large. Most of our work is with really large corporations.
yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny that you what you were just saying then in terms of not funny, but I mean it
Yeah.
does come down to communication a lot of the time. And
Yeah.
the 40-page documents versus a one page. I'm a big believer in a plan on a page, like get the strategy on a page. I don't know about you from a, how you so what happens? So you come in and then so you look at it all, you assess, you do the research. Do
Yep.
you almost pull it apart, subtract? Like I'm a big believer in subtractive psychology. Like, when we've got a problem, we always tend to add things, but instead, what have we
Right.
subtracted? It's like, do you look at it holistically and then come back with this is what I'm proposing? Like, how does it work in terms of, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we essentially start with there's kind of like three main components to our process. We align leaderships on their priorities, which we find really important to do up front because once you get everyone to say clearly, this is what we want to happen, it's much easier to rein them back in
yeah,
and remind them and be like, no, remember this. This is what
yeah,
we all agreed we wanted. Does this idea help us
yeah,
there?
totally,
Okay,
yeah,
no, then we've got to stay focused. Two is benchmark their current capabilities. So what are they currently doing that's yielding the results they're getting,
yeah, right.
right? So that helps a lot. And for one, paint the picture before we even kind of dig into things. And then three would be see, this is what happens to me post 3 p.m. It's like
Okay, I totally look.
completely,
It'll come back to you. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to the
yeah,
third one will come back to you. I know it will, and then you
sure,
go,
sure.
oh, actually.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, well, I already know what it was, right? So then basically it would be fi like building a roadmap to to build from the priorities, from the current state to the
Yeah.
priorities.
Yeah.
Right. So what's really cool is once we benchmark the capabilities, we'll also basically ask for whatever employee engagement survey data they're willing to give us. Right. Because then since we benchmark the capabilities, we have what they're doing to get the results. And then the employee engagement survey gives us the results.
Yeah.
So then we can
And
start to tell the story. Yeah, yeah, right. Like this is what you're doing. Here's why this might be happening.
yeah, it's so important. And I love that. I love the way you've got the three-step model, if you like, and the way you're looking at it all. Because for
Yep.
me, employee engagement is so important in business. It's more important than ever, right? Like when you look at retention, etc. And
Mhm.
everything that's going on in the world, especially with AI, and there's the fear behind, will I have a job tomorrow or not? Yes, you will. It's all changing. I think I think this work is so required in business, and it can no longer be looked at from a transactional lens. It needs to be looked at, well, how is this shaping and reshaping your business? How is this ensuring that it is a healthy, whole business? And
Right.
that people are almost, for me, bringing their Saturday selves to work. And what I mean by that is that they can show up to work and feel like
Mhm.
they can be their authentic selves. And the leaders are doing the same. It's not this smoke and mirrors, because I know when I used to do engagement surveys back in the day, it was all just like this whipping thing where it would be like, if you don't complete your engagement survey, we're going to shut your emails down. So I'd have like 150 staff all saying to me, B, my emails are being shut down. And I'd have to go back to HR and just go, that is not going to get them to do the survey. You've basically,
Right.
do you know what I mean? Like, can we find
Yeah.
different ways of doing things? So I could go on a whole rant with that, but I think I love that you're looking at it differently and doing it differently. And it starts with the leaders, right? And that those shared clear goals
Yeah.
from the outset. Tell me, when you booked in for the podcast and I asked what's one unique insight or lived experience when it comes to life, leadership, and or business, you
Mhm.
said to me the experience of working with you is just as, and this was in brackets, if not more important than the work itself. I was really intrigued by this answer.
Yeah, it's something I say to my team all the time, when we're rushed, when our clients are being clienty, we're right, fussy or disorganized or, running late or things like that. I just, it's so easy, and especially in a post-COVID world when everyone is so virtual, it's so easy to forget that we're all humans. Um,
Totally.
the term Sonder comes to mind. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's like the realization that every single person in the world has a life and feelings as complex and meaningful as your own. And so, yeah, I just think if we're a company focused on making better workplaces, we should be enjoyable to work with. Like we
Yeah,
should model what it's like
100%.
to be a human-centric and enjoyable to work with. And to be quite honest, I think that's why, to my point earlier about how companies coming back to us and saying, okay, great, how can you help us activate this? That's because we were comfortable to work with.
Yeah. So important in a
Certainly, yeah.
partnership, isn't it? That is so important in a partnership. Is that something that
Yeah.
you pride yourself on, like with your team and your business in terms of like inside out? Like, is it an inside out approach that what you apply in other businesses, you ensure that you're applying it into your own business?
Yeah, absolutely. We're really friendly. We're really casual. We like that's us. We care about each other. So 100%. It would be it seems wild to do it any other way.
Yeah, yeah. Talking about
Um,
healthy versus a toxic work environment. You're a founder.
yeah.
What
Right.
have you found as the biggest challenges, or, and I always say I don't like using the word challenges, but what have you, like, have you had any challenges as a founder, like starting your own business, like you've just like, what have you, like from an
Yeah.
employee of your, like within your own company and being a founder, what have you found as the biggest challenges starting your own business?
Oh, wow. A lot. So for one, I am not someone who is really financially savvy. I don't really enjoy the finance part of business. I would rather, put a pen in my eye than do taxes. Like, um, so yes, getting to a point where I can hire like bookkeepers and where I have folks that I lean on to do that kind of work. Before that was a massive struggle for me. It really can just suck the life
Yeah,
out of you as you're doing this work, which is really dangerous because you need a lot of energy and you need a lot of blind faith, if not just straight up delusion that like this is gonna work and it's gonna be fine.
totally. I agree more about that. And especially like I don't know about you, but as a woman in business, like having your own company, like I don't know, you look at some guys and they're just like, like yeah, and it's all smoke and mirrors and then you actually if they're prepared to share the vulnerability, they're like, oh no, B, haven't been like haven't made profit, I haven't been like and I'm like, but why are you coming across like everything's so
Yeah.
perfect when it's not? Like
Yeah. Isn't that typical? I remember reading somewhere that men are like however much percentage more likely to apply to a role, even though they don't have, 40% of what's
no.
on the re required list. And women are like, if they don't have one thing, they're like, oh no, I can't. Like
I know. It's something that, yeah, you're totally right. But yeah, no, so the biggest challenges, so that is a big challenge in terms of doing things that you're not enjoying and you don't want to do. What do you
yeah.
love? What do you love then about being a founder?
I love the work. I love getting weird and messy into research, into yeah, organizational theory research, employee engagement survey research, uh, even just basic human psychology type things I find is really interesting and finding connections. So just like making those connections that I feel like is actually going to make
A
my
difference.
client excited and make a difference, yeah,
Yeah.
in the work we're doing is
Yeah.
really thrilling for me. I do still love the creative side of it. Like I really do love, I don't so much love like the making of the production of the thing. So again, very fortunate. I have a killer production designer now that helps me out, which has taken a lot of stress of. But I love seeing it come together. The a meaningful message and like a beautiful imagery that I really feel like genuinely expresses what the company is trying to do.
Yeah.
Um, I do love that. Yeah. I love this. I love
Yeah,
talking to people.
totally.
I
We're
love
going to get to
talking to
your
like-minded
podcast in a
folks.
second. I've got a couple more
Yeah.
questions though, in terms of with when it comes to now I've lost my train of thought. I had a great question just then and I've just lost it. But the future of work, it's come back to me. Future of work, like you're in a real sweet spot right now. Like, employee experience, employee engagement is more important than ever, given that we've got AI and humans. Like, what are you
Mhm.
seeing? Okay, you're obviously in retail, you're going into different businesses. AI's come in like this huge revolution right now, right? Like, but at the end of the day, I feel like we are always still going to need the human potential. Are you noticing any changes, even this year in particular, with regards to how like is AI influencing employee experience or employee engagement? Like are you seeing anything from a tech perspective and how that's potentially is it adding another layer or in a good way or is it like it doesn't need to be looked at again? Like what are you seeing as the future of all of this? Big question.
Yeah. AI, and I'm going to sound like a laggard when I say this, and I'm not. I love technology. I use AI every day. But in terms of retail, Um, I and it's funny because if you go to like a retail conference, a gigantic, the New York City, huge retail annual event, AI is the focus of every single panel. When I talk to store managers, when I'm talking to like actual people in retail, no, AI is not doing anything.
No.
At least not in the stores that I'm working with right now. Honestly, they can barely get cash registers that work. Like they just the point of sale stuff, like I don't know, their
Point of
inventory
sale.
management systems, like that stuff is still such a point of contention that no, and to be honest, like how would a store employee on the floor, at least again in some industries, like I know in fashion, it's playing a big role with like smart change rooms and um, you know, being able to like check inventory or check other store like,
Yeah.
stuff like that, but. Do I think it's I'm sure it's going to play a role, but I think we're still working on the human stuff. And I think
Of course.
until we don't figure out the very basic human stuff, we're just building on a rocky foundation.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You started a podcast, Dear Corporate Love Stores. I was going to say
Yeah.
stories. Tell us a little bit about
Everyone
that.
wants to. Yeah, it's so funny.
No, I just when I saw it and when I was looking you up the other week and I was like, oh, this looks cool. And yeah, Dear
Yeah.
Corporate Love Stores. I was like, what's this about?
It's so neat. So it's literally like the name says it all. It's kind of like love letters to corporate from a store manager. And a point of contention in retail, like I said, is a disconnect between corporate and stores. Even when corporate has the best intentions, which I really do think they do majority of the time, they want things to be better, they want employees to be happy, they want to help. There's a lack of understanding of how things actually have to work on the
Yeah,
store floor.
practicality.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of the initiatives they're rolling out aren't making a positive change, and sometimes they're actually making a negative change on the experience on the store experience. So for example, we always say 90% of the time our clients think they have an awareness issue, right? Like, so if they come to us and they want to improve this particular question on their employee engagement survey, they're certain that they need a comms campaign and that they need to improve awareness of that thing. Usually it's not an awareness issue, it's an experience issue,
That's
right? It's like,
always, yeah.
yes, yeah. You're like, no, I know we have recognition programs like annual recognition awards. I just don't feel recognized day to day because
Yeah.
of this, this, and
Yeah.
this.
It's the little things, isn't it? It's like the little things that we forget about, and we think we've got to do something so grandiose. It's like maybe
Yeah.
if we got back to basics, like, and I think it definitely comes back to the subtractive psychology piece because we're adding layer upon layer upon layer. When actually,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what is going to make someone, an employee, smile? What's going to make an employee feel like they're recognized day to day?
Yeah, or erode that, right? And so, for example, we just talked. My co-host is Matt Copeland. He's a veteran store manager. He's amazing. He's eloquent. He's brilliant. He's just fun and so caring. That's when I started talking to him through LinkedIn. I was just like, "You people need to hear you talk." If it's hard for corporate executives to talk to their stores, maybe they can just hear you. And
I
like, I
love
think
that.
you're giving voice, you're giving a stage to some of these challenges. But for example, like we talk a lot about operationalizing engagement. And in retail,
Mm,
especially, that's so critical because it's so operational.
mm,
And
mm.
so it's one thing like trust, right? So uh, an employer saying that trust is one of our values, but then they have a bag check policy where everyone on the floor has to prove that they haven't stolen anything by showing their boss inside their bag. That's eroding trust. That does not say I trust you.
Yeah, I get so offended with that stuff, believe it or not. Even when I go to a supermarket and you're at the checkout and then you get this beep beep, it's like, what am I? I'm not stealing anything. Like every time,
Right.
it's just really intrusive. But I get it
Yeah.
because there's people that aren't doing the right thing out there. But I just think there's
Right.
ways. It comes back down to communication, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you can have the like values in particular, you can have values, but unless they're being active and put into action,
Yeah.
so much,
Yeah.
so much can get eroded.
Honestly, and it's funny that, going back to I just talked to Matt about this on our podcast, but you know what a great use of AI would be to take your company values, right, or your EVP, your mission, tell ChatGPT what it is, and then pour in your policy handbook and say, is there anything in here that might make our employees disbelieve
Yeah,
that
it's
this
so
is what we
true.
really feel?
Yeah.
And I bet you it would come up with a whole bunch of policies from loss prevention stuff like bag checks to attendance policies to late policies to all kinds of things that just scream, we don't trust you, we don't value you. And again, not maliciously.
No.
they're just things that they're relics that have been around for decades that nobody, like somebody hasn't questioned in several years.
Yeah, I love that you're challenging it all. Tell me, what do you, in terms of you and ensuring, like, because again, back to founder, it's can
Mm,
be 24/7, especially, like if when you're growing or scaling your business, when you're juggling multiple client projects, at the
yeah.
at the one time, and I have no doubt that employee experience, in particular is red hot right now because everyone wants their employees they just want them to be, they want them to be happy. Like, and there's a lot, sometimes it's a tick box exercise, and it's like when you get into it, like, exactly like you're talking about. Um, how do you manage your life workflow, and how do you ensure that you switch off, you have that active recovery? You've got a podcast also. I know from having my own podcast and then my own work, it's a lot. It can
Yeah.
be a lot. How do you, and then I saw you've got a little, I did see a little doggy down there before. I think it was a
Yeah.
dog. Yeah, very cute. And my dog's just, he's nearly about to turn two. He's sitting on his couch next to me. He helps me a lot. Get off, like get out when I need to and that sort of thing. What's
Yes.
your thing to get you to step away and get that fresh perspective?
Yeah. Oh man, it's such a great question. Honestly, my dogs are, I have two. They're a huge part of it. He will literally sometimes demand that I leave the office. He gets very frustrated if I'm in here too long. So yes, making sure that they're well cared for and exercise is a big part of it. To be honest, I was really bad at balance up until like the start of this year.
Yeah, right.
I feel like I was just chronically working every spare chance that I got. Um, the one good habit that I've had for I don't know why, like my whole adult life is I'm a serious morning person. So I wake up around like 4:15 every
Oh,
day. I know. I do CrossFit. I like to go to the 6 a.m. class, and so that's done first thing. I'm back by 7, walking the dogs by 7:30. And so I feel like a lot has happened. I build in a lot before I even get to this, like the
only once you're
non-negotiable
tired at
stuff.
3, 4:15 in the morning.
Exactly. I know it's really, really sapped my social life. I can't
No,
do
it's good.
anything. But yeah, honestly, last year I would have been like, no, I don't have that. I don't have that balance. Everyone tells me I work too much, and yeah, I'm getting burnt out. And I don't know why this year. I don't know if it was I turned 42 this year. I don't know if it's something that happens naturally, but I was like, I'm determined to enjoy the journey now.
Yeah,
Like
good.
I do care about this business, but I also want to enjoy my day to day, which is everything we talk, maybe it's the work we're doing, it's everything we're saying to our
Yeah,
clients, right?
totally.
Like the day
Enjoy
to
the
day has to be
journey.
enjoyable. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
And
agree.
so, yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've got I'm glad you've got that going on because it is a journey, right? And like one minute
Yeah.
the world goes, everything's happening so fast. So, anyway,
Yeah.
we could talk about that. So that's good. What time do you go to bed at night? If
Like
you're up,
7:30.
it's like you're up at 4:15. Is that even on a weekend you're up that early?
Usually, yeah. Sometimes I can sleep until like 5:30 on a
Oh, you're
weekend, but I
amazing. Yeah, you're amazing. That's incredible. Becky, what would
yeah.
be one piece of advice? You've given so much advice. What would be one piece of advice you give a leader who had a serious employee engagement issue on their hands
Hmm.
and they just didn't know where to start? What would be your piece of advice to them?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about not knowing where to start, I would do kind of just what I said at the start of this. I would say, what do you want the future to look like? Like, what are your priorities here? What do you think is critical? Like, what's the most important thing to change? What are we doing right now that's not yielding those results?
Yeah.
And then committing to changing something, because to your point about the checkbox exercise, right? Like it's in a way it has to be both something bold and then also something not. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it's probably going to be something that's been protected,
Mm.
like a dusty old rule or policy or process, you're gonna have to blow the dust off that and question it and hope that you're in a place that your leaders are willing to listen. And in a place where sticking your neck out is rewarded, not punished.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And if you could start a letter right now, dear corporate love stores,
Yeah.
what would be the first few words that you would start in the letter?
It would honestly, dear corporate, your store managers are brilliant. They're smart. They have a wild amount of business acumen. They have so many good ideas. Listen to them, enable them, empower them, let them do their thing, because they're so capable. And I think you would be astonished by what they'd accomplish.
So good. Becky, that's so cool. I'm gonna listen. I've got to listen to a few episodes of your podcast. Yeah, it's very cool. How do we find out more about you? How do we find out more about your business?
Yeah, I love to chat on LinkedIn. I think I'm just like slash Bekki Cait. I do spell it weird. It's Bekki Cait. CATOcreative.ca is our website. You can also reach us through there. I'm always open to talking. Obviously, I can't stop talking about this stuff. So
I love it.
happy to connect with anyone.
Then your podcast, your corporate love stores, which is on all
Dear, yeah,
main channels.
yeah.
Am I allowed to say? I think channels. Yeah. So
Yeah, anywhere you get, yeah, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Dear Corporate Love Stores. Matt is a ball to listen to.
yeah, definitely.
It's a good time.
Becky, thank you so much. Do you know, every time I've gone to say Becky, I've been wanting to say Cato because it's right in front of me and I can see it. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's Becky, it's Becky, it's Becky. But thank you so much for your time. It's been a really real privilege talking to you and wishing you a great end to the year and even more success heading into 2026. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
No, you're welcome. Enjoy your afternoon.
You too.